live. We're live. Hey.
We're live. Hey.
Hey, everybody.
You're in the show.
Right? You're in the show. You're in the show.
Yeah.
Okay. Sometimes it takes a few minutes for it to pop on that people are here. So if anyone's here, leave us a comment so we know you're here.
Yeah, let me
Welcome to M&M Lion, Volume 6.
Yeah, I've got it on my Kindle.
Oh, only 3 left to go, including this one. So 2 after this. I can't believe it.
And it's just not enough, is it?
It's not enough.
It's not enough.
Beth needs to get busy writing. It's all I have to say.
Yeah.
Get busy, Beth.
Yeah, right. Yeah, it's just not enough.
Right.
I feel like someone should pick it up as like a TV show. You know what I mean? Like
yes.
We were talking before this about how we can like picture the characters. Like this could be cast really well and be a really great show.
It would be. Absolutely. Beth is here. Hey, Beth.
Yes.
Yay. I know. I've been looking forward to this too. So
Beth, I think, has been catching up.
She has been. She has been.
She's being very diligent about catching up.
Yep. Jacqueline is here. Hi, Jacqueline. And Susan is here. Hi, Susan. Welcome, everybody, to Volume 6. Yes. So, Beth has been definitely reading hard of the M&M Lion series.
Yes.
Which it's not that hard to do because I think once you pick them up, it is really hard to put them down. Like,
yes.
It was so funny. Somebody in the comments of my video that went up today said something. Oh, because I mentioned the Ruth Galloway mysteries by Ellie Griffiths. And she said, oh, I read those just back to back to back. It's like potato chips for me. And I was like, that's a good analogy of it. I feel like I felt that way about M&M Lion. It was like, you can't just read one. You have to keep going.
Yeah, they're definitely like, binge and not like, it's not like that. It's not necessarily fast.
No.
And it's, again, as I was preparing for this, I went back through 6 and you also kind of feel like it's not like there's like this like super exciting, intense plot, but it's so engaging and you're like, oh, what's going to happen? And I have some notes, but there's also like mysteries that just continue to kind of go along. And I'm like, man, I know she says, Beth Brower says she has it all mapped out, but I hope she's got all those mysteries tied up with a bow.
Exactly. Right. Like wrap those all up. Yeah. Yeah. See, Beth read 3 in a week. Right. I mean, that's just that kind of book. And
she said she hasn't finished Volume 6. We might spoil it
a little bit.
There's something that happens at the end.
Very end, Beth. Read fast. We'll wait till after the first reading sprint to talk about the end. How about that? And then maybe you can get to the end. We'll see. You'll have to read really fast. And it's funny because this one does. I'm not going to say this. It doesn't end on a cliffhanger per se, but it does sort of leave you a little bit hanging at the end of this one, more so than I feel like she's done in the prior books, where you're like, oh, I just have to pick up Volume 7 now.
Yeah.
Find out what's going to happen. Susan also said she could not stop. She devoured them. Yes.
Yeah.
They're
so I've tried so far I've done one a month because it's like, it's like a treat too for me of like, I just really enjoy them. So it's like, I don't know. I'm afraid that it's like this is the first time I've read them. And so this is the only first time that I'm going to have. Right. So I'm like just going each month to read it. But I get the devouring part.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Meg is here. Yes. I know. Talk about a cliffhanger, right? We'll get there. We will get there because we absolutely have to talk about that. But Beth said, no worries. I've skipped the last couple of meetings and I missed hanging out with you all. So I'm fine with spoilers. Okay.
Yeah.
All
right. I mean, it's I feel like the end, I was like,
right. I know. Yeah. I forgot. Well, it's so funny because rereading them, like I knew this was coming. This thing that happens at the very end. I didn't remember that it happened right at the very end of this one. And so I was like, oh, that's right. Oh my gosh, she's going to like It's going to happen, and then whoop, really quick, it's going to be over. Like, and you have to
and it ends with like, we need to talk about this.
Yes, absolutely.
Are we going to talk about this? Yeah, I could kind of tell that it was coming just by a couple things, which we can talk about.
Yes. Yes. So.
Yeah. So Meg said
so many laughs. Yeah, this was a funny one.
Yes.
I mean, they're all funny. They all have like their highs and their lows, right? Like there's always, I feel like, you know.
Yeah, there was some, I felt like a little bit more, yeah, you're right. There are highs and lows, right? So like we've come through the funeral and kind of like close that off.
Yes.
But the whole situation with Mr. Fard, you know,
yes.
I mean, that's like a pretty heavy thing to, you know what I mean? I think Beth, I'm jumping ahead, but I think she handled it really well and delicately, but that's a pretty serious thing to happen. Do you know what I mean? It's not, this isn't just a light, fluffy read or situation. Like that's a pretty serious thing. Meg said she's just diving right into the next one. She's on vacation.
Exactly. Yeah. Oh no, these are the perfect vacation reads. Like they just lend themselves to that for sure. Yes. I know Jacqueline said, how are we going to wait for book 9? I don't know. I don't know.
Yeah.
She needs to write faster.
Yeah.
And 10, 11, 12, right? Etc. Yes. How are we going to wait for each next one that comes out?
I know we always talk about this, but how many is it going to be? It's not just 12. It's going to be
it's going to cover 4 years of Emma's life, and every volume is 2 months. So that's 6 books for each year. So 24 books.
Yeah.
Would be my take, my read on it, right? That math works out, right? Like 6 times 24. I mean, 6 times 4 is 24.
And the way she's going, they're going to be 1,000-page tomes by the time we get.
I know, right?
By the time we get towards the end,
they're getting thicker and thicker and thicker.
Yeah, they really are.
Well, should we let's kind of go through because I do feel like this one kind of has. Like there are a bunch of kind of events that happen in this one. So like initially at the beginning, we have like that whole 12th night party she gets invited to, which was very interesting, and this like fun, like masquerade ball with the whole Oberon looking for his Titania.
Yeah, that was so, I don't know, unusual, right?
It was unusual. And I don't really know. The only thing I kind of was wondering is if there's sort of some allusion. I mean, obviously there is an allusion to A Midsummer Night's Dream, but that just sort of an allusion to that overall as part of the Emma M. Lyons storyline in general, right? That there's sort of like these love stories happening, and sort of people are all off kind of doing their own little things, and then everything kind of comes, I don't know. And there's also sort of a slightly magical element to things that are happening. And
with the missing objects.
Right.
End up with to put the feather on them.
And the Roman, the ghost, and there's just like so I don't know. Yeah, I was wondering if we are gonna like harken back to this 12th night event again, like in the next year. Like, will this same party happen, and will we get more information when we get to next?
Yeah, that's a good idea.
Next year, 1880. Would that be 18? Is this 1884 now?
Yes. Yeah, it's 1884.
So will we get 1885's 12th night and see something different or get something more from it? Because that whole thing about like Hawks being there, and I was like, was it Hawks? Because she thought it was, but
right.
It's never really confirmed that he was actually there. So I don't know.
Yeah, and she took the crown, right? And like everybody gasped, but we don't know who Oberon.
Well, Meg says what I think. So was Hawks playing the part of Oberon? See, that's what I was wondering. And that's why I feel like we're going to have to come back to this. Like Beth has to bring us back around to give us more information, because why drop this very sort of picturesque, like she builds this whole vision of this party. Why do that unless you're not going to reference back to it again at some point in the future?
So, but then who's Titania? Because there's obviously like, I don't know, unrequited love. Like it talks about they're not ever going to be married. So I was wondering, again, I don't know if this is gonna like be weird, but you know how she overhears Hawks and Islington talking, and Hawks says like it's really good for you to be around Emma, and they're like, you know, she's not like, and he's like, I know she's not, but they would really be friends. Do you remember that part?
Yep, I do. Absolutely.
So there's obviously something going on with Islington's past or someone he knows. So you know, maybe that could be it. He's Oberon. I don't know.
Not to spoil things, but we are going to get some more information about that in the upcoming 2 volumes.
Also, I remembered, Islington wasn't around.
He wasn't.
The beginning. He was like, so again, I don't know. So we are going to find that out. Okay, that's
right.
Good. But that's one of those mysteries where I'm like really intrigued at like, what was that?
Right. I know. Me too. Like reading it again for the second time, I was like, I'd forgotten, but oh, Lori. Hi, Lori. You made it here. That's okay. We got plenty of time. Glad you found us. It said he made a tilt of his head like Hawks does. Yeah, I think it had to be him. I know. That's what I'm thinking too. Like, it feels like it could be Hawks because, oh gosh, see, this is where I'm getting into. I can't remember if this. Okay, there is an allusion in this volume. Beth Brower alludes to this pear scent that Hawks puts off. Remember the scene with the scarf at the fountain where he gives it to Emma and Emma says it smells like pears?
Yeah.
Like, she says something about him always kind of giving off this scent of pears. That's going to come up again. And we're going to get a little bit more information about it later. Not a lot, but some. And I'm wondering if that information also ties. So when we get to the point I can't remember if it's the next volume or if it's not till volume 8 that we find out more about that. But when we get to that point, maybe we'll have to kind of harken back to this Midsummer Night's, this 12th Night Ball, and see if we can make any connections. I don't know.
Plus the reprobates were there.
They were
too. And so he's like, you know,
and they were sort of in the know about like what was going on because what's his bucket? I can't remember which. Their names are so crazy that I can't remember.
They're weird. She talked a lot to the boy.
The boy. So was it the boy that told her like what was all happening and who Oberon was and that she's not his Titania, you know, they're never going to be together, blah, blah, blah. Yes. And that nobody takes the crown, that whole thing. So, so clearly they're in the know. They know what's going on at this ball. They've been there before. And if Hawks is Oberon, then they would really be in the know. Let's see. Meg says, I'm thinking that woman he danced with is someone that he has a sort of relationship with, but for some reason they can't be together. Yeah. Right? That is definitely what it feels like. What happened to the other live link? There's another. Oh, no. I don't know, Laura. Did I make a mistake? I might have. I don't know. Did I put the wrong link in somewhere? Oh, shoot. Let me look.
Over on the link for 6, I put a message that you were here on volume 8.
There are a few on the link for volume.
Can they just go to YouTube?
Oh, volume 8. Why am I on volume 8?
Are we on volume 8?
I am. Oh, my goodness. Oh, this is terrible.
Well,
I guess it's too late now. Sorry, guys. Oh, my goodness.
Let's see.
Ay. Hang on.
Basically, who was asking? Laura, what happened was we just skipped, accidentally clicked the wrong link. That's what happened.
Yes, I clicked the wrong link. That was my bad. Hang on. Let me see if I can go.
I mean, they should be able to see us on YouTube.
Let me just go. I'm going to mute this so people can't hear me, but let me just go on here and see if anyone's in here.
Yeah. So, Laura. Yeah.
Let me find the. Nope. All right. Sorry, guys. Having technical difficulties.
Yeah, I don't know.
Okay, all right. Okay, I put a comment in the, let me put a banner up too.
Yeah, thank you guys for putting.
Yeah, thanks for letting us know. Okay. Just going to leave that up for a little bit. So hopefully. Okay. Yeah. Well.
Yeah, I didn't even notice that when you sent me the link.
I didn't either. This is the problem when I try to set up too many things at the same time. Like I set up all of the remaining live streams in StreamYard, and then usually I was just doing them one at a time, and I thought I was going to be clever and put them all in there for the rest of the time. And then I clicked the wrong one. So hopefully afterwards, I'm hoping afterwards I can go back and rename it. So at least when people are looking for it, they'll find it under the right. I should be able to do that at least in YouTube. So anyway.
Okay, great. Well, we're at January 5th. We've gotten 5 days into the 2 months.
I know, right? Okay, yes. Let us get back. Let us get
back. What did we miss? So I don't know if you missed very much, but we were talking about the 12th night event on January 5th and suppositioning on who Oberon might be, which I think the general consensus is it might be Hawks. And then the kind of how that was just sort of just an unusual opening for the book. And then Jen had this brilliant idea that she's hoping when we come back in January of 1885, Emma goes to that party again, and we're kind of shown a little bit more of what that whole Midsummer Night's Dream event was, or the meanings behind it.
Yes. So Laura, that's what, if you were over in the other live where we should all have been, that's what we've talked about. So we haven't talked about very much so far, just that first opening ball, 12th night ball. So if anybody has any thoughts, and a few people in the Meg in the comments said she thought that Oberon was Hawks, and that's what I thought as well. And so curious if anyone else thought that when they read that part, but yes, that's where we're at so far.
Somebody said, maybe it was Meg, said there was a head tilt to Oberon, and that's what Hawks does. And Jen was talking about his pear scent and kind of how that continues to be a theme throughout this.
The pear scent, alludes to that someone else is getting close to him and leaving their scent on him. And so I don't know. We'll see.
Interesting.
Susan also thinks it's Hawks.
Yes.
Oh, how about Pierce and Hawks birthday shopping together? What a riot. Pierce has a right pain.
Yes.
It was like we went to every store.
Yeah.
So Emma has come into her majority. So that is a big thing that happens in this book. So yay, congratulations. Happy birthday to Emma.
Yeah.
Yeah, it just feels good for her to like have
Yes.
some authority and control over her own life now. Like, I mean, even though she still has people to be accountable to, her aunt, and she can't just completely do what she wants, and she doesn't have very much money, and she needs to find a job. And the job thing, we definitely have to spend time talking about that. But before we get to that, yeah, the birthday, I love that they gave her that lion pendant. I think that was just so lovely.
Yes.
And each of their little notes to her, wishing her happy birthday, I thought was just very, very lovely. And just kind of the one thing I think is interesting about this one, I really feel like we get a little very specifically more about each Islington, Hawks, and Pierce in this one. Like, we learn a little bit more is getting teased out about each of their backstories. Yes. In a way that felt very purposeful in this one, more so than I felt that in the past volumes. So we should definitely talk about that too. And everybody, before I forget, put in the comments what team you're on. If you've read to the end, did that influence which team you're on?
Yeah, so
team Hawks, I'm team Islington, team Pierce, team Jack, team what's Mr. Annoying?
Goddard.
Unintended intent, the unintended Charles intended. Yeah. And what's Roland? I guess you could be team Roland too, because he's definitely in the mix. He's a little bit in the background, but it could be in the mix. So I love this. Perfect. Team I'm torn.
Yeah.
Are you torn between them all, Elizabeth? Or are you just torn between 2 or 3? Or all right, Susan's team Islington. So okay.
So Croft said Sophronia had a line of trouble in her lips when she got the necklace. And I noticed that too. What does that mean?
That's interesting. A line of trouble in her lips when E opened the necklace. What does that mean? I just think Sophronia is aware that there's entanglements between Emma and these 3 men, and that's complicated and could be very complicated, right?
Yes.
So I that's sort of my read on it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Shell switched. She's now team Islington.
Yeah. I like what Laura said. I wanted her to fall for Hawks, but I've decided that is me that has fallen for Hawks.
I think that's how I feel too. But I do. I mean, I'm team Hawks.
Are you?
Yes. All right. I have been from the beginning. And I actually think, when he says to Islington, like, being around Emma is good for you, I would say to Emma, being around Hawks is good for her. Like, when she was with Jack and he showed up and Jack was in the
Catholic priest's
outfit. In the bar, and Hawks knew. I don't know. I mean, I don't know. Hawks seems to have this like mystical intuition and abilities about him where he's able to like read people really well and read situations really well. Mm-hmm. But I don't want to go too far. The one thing I did want to talk about, the part with Jack is hilarious. I'm so chronological. Can we talk about on January 15th when Aunt Eugenia arrives at the door and Hawks and Islington end up in the room with her? So the last time I was on this and we talked, I was like, I don't think Eugenia is so bad. Like, I think she has at least, but after that scene, I switched.
Did you?
Yes. I was like, she's terrible. She's terrible.
She is terrible in that moment. She is definitely terrible in that moment.
She was so rude to everybody. I was not. So
yeah.
Pierce and Sophronia.
That's Pierce and Sophronia. They're well suited to life experience. They're both avowed bachelors.
Yeah.
It'd be funny to see them fight their feelings.
Yeah. Yes.
Oh yeah. Ginny says, poor Parian. Yeah. That whole he had no clue what was going on.
I definitely like him better. In the beginning, I did not. Yes. He was so, But now I think he's become Team Emma. He's like more supportive of her, I think.
Right.
I mean, well, obviously for his own selfish interests, but
yeah, I mean, I think, I think you just, as we go along, we just get more these characters get more fleshed out for us, especially as Emma gets to know them better, right? So
yes.
they will, because she's seeing them from a certain perspective, we're seeing them from that perspective. And as she gets to know people better, then those perspectives start to change. So I think that's a really good way that Beth Brower is making those characters evolve.
Yes. Yeah, no, I think that's
yeah,
really
Susan
true.
says, speaking of Aunt Eugenia, she's terrible at times, but at times I think she may have a few good qualities. Yes, I do. And I do think she'll redeem herself in the future.
Yeah, she that was when I was I felt so like, again, I think Beth Brower does such a good job because that chapter I didn't like it. It was I felt it was like tension and like just I don't know. Like I just was like so ready to have Eugenia leave the house. You know what I mean? Like
yes.
It just was fraught with like just feeling so awkward and uncomfortable.
Right. Yes. And I mean, yeah, I mean, we're definitely not supposed to like her in that moment. And it definitely shows how very, sort of self-serving she is, right? I mean, she's very much out to get Annabelle married to the best possible person, and nothing is going to get in her way when it comes to that. And so we definitely see that in that scene.
Yes.
And it was, what was surprising to me, which I hadn't remembered, was how rude she is to Islington, because they are of the same social class.
She was so rude. And to Hawks, to Emma with the book of like whatever it was, how to behave 101 or whatever she gave her for I can't remember what it's called. It's in the back of the book.
It's in the back.
But yeah, she was rude to Islington too.
I know, because
Meg had said about Islington's aunt, which is I took notes, Countess of Alwick. And she really was, she's like the foil for Eugenia.
She is, right?
She's she's smoking a pipe. She's, coming in the house in like the wrong entrances. I think
it's really interesting because I do feel like Beth is setting up these women, like these very strong women in Emma's orbit, right? I mean, her aunt, for all her flaws, is an incredibly strong woman. I mean, she is strong-willed, of no doubt, right? I mean, she is singular-minded. She knows what she wants, and she's out to get it, and no one's getting in her way. Islington's aunt, also very single-minded. Sophronia, also very strong woman. Mary, also another very strong female.
Mrs. Penury.
Mrs. Penury, my favorite. I love Mrs. Penury.
What a creative
for someone
character.
Who doesn't speak. She's just the best.
Yeah. Yeah, I love her involvement. The warning that we get, that I think it's Whitaker's. We get a little warning from her that says, I don't know if your job's going to work out, but go ahead and try it on a trial. So we go into it knowing there's going to be a problem here.
Yes.
If she thinks that, know.
Yeah. Yeah, I like this, Jenny. I think Emma tends to bring out the better parts of people she is around, except Archibald, for sure. I like how that was a nice little kind of throwaway that Archibald and his sister sent Emma this list of, like, all her flaws.
Yes.
This like thick packet of all her flaws.
Yes.
I was like, you two are really ones to talk, I think.
Yes. It's true.
But yeah.
So I know, so you talked about Mary. I have on the 24th the situation where they invite Professor Fletcher.
That's such a fun scene.
So fun. And again, she does, I mean, you can just picture it, right?
Right?
Like, you can just see. So Mary's wearing glasses. And Emma's like, really? And she's like, no, they're not actually real. He doesn't know that. It just helps me look smarter.
Exactly.
But,
well, it's so funny because the professor feels like Superman a little bit. Like when he's got his glasses on, they're like, okay, we can take him. Like he's got clearly he needs to get a good haircut. It's a bad haircut, but like then he takes his glasses off and they're all like, swooning.
Right.
I'm like, okay, Clark Kent, Superman. Just like, Anyway, but I just love that about him, that he's like seems unassuming, but he's actually pretty good looking, and Mary is just head over heels for him. I mean, we still can't get over the fact she was hiding in the bushes for like 3 hours.
I know. And it's funny because we all can see what's happening, but it isn't until much later in this book that Emma says, like, well, we can now see it. Mary's in love. Mm-hmm. And I guess Jack can too, because he seems perturbed by the professor as well, right? Like, it's like, you need to find out about her. And
right. Yeah. But yeah, I I mean, the professor's very much, I mean, he's sort of like the absent-minded professor a little bit, you can just sort of see him as that, like, he can't totally focus on the mundane things of life because his head is all in his work. And, he really needs somebody like Mary. I think they'll be perfect together if he can ever, like, see her through his work lens, not through his work lens,
Right.
So, but yeah, that was such a fun scene. And I like how Emma had to like break like they're both talking at the same time, then stopping, and then both starting again. It's just like, I gotta fix this. Like, it's got to stop happening.
So they bring in Archibald.
Right. No, nothing like Archibald to, release the tension of a situation, or pull the tension somewhere else, at least.
Right.
Let's see. Lori says, what about her new friends, Annalise and May? They say brilliant rally against the old pack. Keep the racket in hand ready. Yes, I like the two of them a lot. They were also very fun. It was nice that, like, not all of the women she comes in contact, all the young girls anyway, could be, snarky and into society. Like, not all of them are going to be that way. There's going to be some who are more like Emma. And so that's nice that she met a couple that she sort of, has some sort of affinity to.
Right. Mm-hmm. Yeah, Meg said that too, I think.
Yeah.
Yes.
Mm-hmm.
The birthday, Charles Goddard. He's such a putz. He's just really a putz.
Oh, I was so glad she tried to slam the door on him and got his foot.
But that's how Aunt Eugenia ended up coming over, right? Like, he went and told on her.
Right.
He's just really.
But it's really funny because Aunt Eugenia is also like he can't just marry Emma. She's not going to allow that. Fine, they could get married at some point, but it has to be after Annabelle's married and all that happens, and then Aunt Eugenia will deal with that whole thing. But Charles Goddard is getting ahead of himself. Like, she was not all that pleased with the situation.
Yeah, it's true. It's true.
Yeah,
it's true.
Laura says she frequently forgets how young Emma is. Yeah, she's had so much happen to her in her very short life. I mean, I think it makes her seem wise beyond her years because of that.
I typically think of remember how young she is when she's with the three men, when she's with Hawks, Islington, and Pierce. Like, I don't know, because that kind of relationship, I don't think, you know what I mean? Like, as she gets older, I just think that would change. Obviously,
yes,
we're all on a team for how that would change.
Right. Well, I mean, she sort of alludes to that later in this volume, that, like, this alchemy that's happening between the four of them, like, it may not last. I mean, eventually some or all of them are going to get married and move on. There's nothing necessarily keeping the four of them together. It is just at this particular moment, they sort of have lightning in a bottle happening. So yeah, I think, take full advantage of that. And these Thursdays that Islington has. Thursday. So
yes. So we can talk about the time with the aunt. If I don't know if anybody has anything to add. This is when I know you had said, Jen, that this is where we start to kind of learn about each of the men a little bit more. And this is where we get a little bit more of a glimpse into Islington and his family life and you know, his hang-ups and things, and she explains it. I know for me, the part that I was most intrigued about the mystery is when Emma overheard Hawks and Islington talking, because I was like, oh, what's that about? You know,
right.
We always see Emma talking about like, and that there's the one, I think it's in this book, where she teases him and he gets offended and she has to like run after him and apologize. So we know there's like hurt there and something that he's protecting.
Yes.
So, and that we see that a lot more in this book, I think.
Yeah, I would agree with that. Like, I think each of the men has something in their past that's influenced who they are and how they're behaving today in Emma's world. And, you know, partly maybe why she's important to them because of whatever said thing has happened in their past. And, you know, Emma has her own sad. I mean, we forget because we know Emma's sadness, but not all of them know about Maxwell. Islington doesn't know about Maxwell. I don't think Hawks knows specifically about Maxwell. Only Pierce knows.
Yeah. Hawks probably knows. He knows everything.
Well, yeah, Hawks does.
Let me defend Hawks.
Right?
I'm sure he knows.
I know.
But yeah, she's only opened up and confided in Pierce about it. And if he, like, very intimately, like he was there to support her in really like vulnerable times. Meg, I appreciate this too.
Yes,
Meg
this is I was going to share this.
Yeah, this is the beauty of these books.
I know this is the thing about these books that like you can't explain when you're trying to explain these books to someone. It's just like you just have to read them because you will not fully grasp. Like, yeah, Cousin Archibald got a hold of a tambourine. And like we all made a pact that the first one to get hold of the tambourine was going to throw it out the window or whatever, you know.
I mean, it's just so clever and just funny. Absolutely. And like, again, like we can all see Archibald getting a hold of a tambourine and like how annoying that would be.
Right?
Yeah, I agree. It's just so wonderful.
It is. It really is. Yeah. All those little like nuggets that she puts in, like that just make you feel part of Emma's world. I really feel like this, you know, draws you in.
Yes.
Elizabeth is good. Yeah, that is interesting to remember what the men do and don't know. And it's so easy to forget since we know everything that Emma shares. Yeah. Right. Exactly.
It's true.
You know, it's like they're all sort of getting to know each other and they're getting little bits and pieces from each other about each of their backgrounds. But none of them has like fully shared everything. So, and I think, I think that's really interesting.
The men have their own thing. Remember, she found out that they were getting together without her, without Emma, and she was like brought it up, I think, to Islington, a little perturbed, you know, that they're also, you know, and they're, you know, shopping together.
Right.
So they have their relationship too.
Yeah. So Meg says she wonders if Archibald's reading Emma's journal and sharing it in his confessions. I mean, I certainly hope not. That makes him even more heinous than he already is. You know, so let's hope that's not the case. And I don't know that Hawks would allow, you know, like if Hawks got wind that Archibald was doing that, I think he'd probably put the end to the whole confession thing in general. You know, I think he'd be like, you know, I don't think it's in Hawks's purview to want to know somebody's secrets they haven't willingly shared with him.
Which reminds me, there's that whole part where Mrs. Ribbets gets a hold of Emma and she's like, I need you to get Hawks.
Yes.
And then she says something to him and then Hawks doesn't want to talk about Mrs. Ribbets. And it's like, I know there's like random things in there about a tambourine. I don't think there's any significance, but it's like, what was the significance of Mrs. Ribbets?
Well, I think because let me see if I can. I think I tabbed something that was kind of near that section, and it. What I was thinking was that it gave us a little bit of a moment because, you know, when Hawk sees her and Emma's like, I have a message for you from Mrs. Ribbets. He's clearly preoccupied by something else.
Yes.
We don't know what, but he's definitely on a mission, you know. And I feel like this is just another opportunity for us to get to know, like, you know, to delve a little bit into Hawks's psyche.
He's so mysterious.
He
I feel
is
like
mysterious.
I mean, Pierce is also mysterious, but I just feel like Hawks is like, I cannot figure out. He showed up at church with with the black eye.
Right?
What day was that? I wrote
That's
it down.
towards the end, I think.
No, I didn't write it down. I should
Yeah.
have.
Well,
But yeah, he showed up with February 24th.
Oh.
He like isn't there randomly week
Right?
after week, and then he shows up with black eye.
Yeah.
It's like, what is
I know,
he
he's
doing?
not there, he's not there, he's not there, and then he shows up with the black eye, which,
Right.
you know, they've been seeing him, and even though he hasn't been coming to church to, you know, do the sermon, they, you know, Emma's still seeing him, and then suddenly he shows up with the black eye. It's like, where did he get a black eye?
Yeah. It's like, what is he doing?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, this is a good, Lori says, I love the quote, we all cast shadows from our past, only how difficult a thing it is to let others see them.
Yes.
Yeah, that's a great quote. And I think it's really applicable to what's going on in the story, that, you know, it is difficult to let others see your past. You know, it's like they've all got secrets. I think Pierce is the one whose secrets feel to me like they hover the most close to the surface. He has the hardest time keeping them tamped down, even though he kind of wants to. But I also think he kind of wants to release them, and he's very torn about that, especially with Emma. You know, but the other two, like Islington, also clearly Hawks has secrets, and but the two of them keep them much closer to the vest. I mean, this was the first one where we really saw Islington sort of give way to whatever it is that was bought. We know when Emma made that comment and hurt his feelings, you know, that's kind of the first time he's really lost his cool like that, in a vulnerable way, you know, like he was mad when she read his journals, as anybody would rightfully be, but this felt like a very personal, you know, hurt that he was feeling. So that was interesting.
Yeah, and I wondered too, so I have people close to me who have PTSD, and I mean, I do think Pierce has PTSD. I mean, we learned again more about him and like how young he was to follow that war photographer, and like all of the things that he saw, and he told some of the really terrible parts of that. But PTSD is pretty volatile, right? Like that's kind of the whole point of it, is that you can't tamp things down very well. Like it's just all right at the surface and all very volcanic. So I think she's done a good job kind of writing each of their, you know, and, you know, Islington being a duke, like he's spent his whole life training how to suppress everything and to have that, you know, British stiff upper lip and everything, you know, I mean, that's his training, you would think.
Right. Yeah. Well, I think, Susan, this is a good point, that you see the tension beginning where Emma being a friend is going to change as she comes of age, right? I mean, it's going to get more challenging as expectations for both Emma to get married and the men to also get married, you know, and having a female friendship just was sort of, I mean, this is a very unusual thing, I think, for this time period, for a young single woman to have friends, men friends like this, that are so very close, that aren't relatives, right? Like they're not related to her.
That's why she has her chaperone, Agnes.
Yes.
To be
two Agneses in one household.
Yes. So I don't know how far we want to go. I know we talked a little bit about this, but we've got in the beginning of February, we had the Jack and Hawks meeting. That was kind of awkward. I'm curious to know if anybody's Team Jack. I feel like the last time I did this, there were people who were Team Jack.
I was just looking back at who was on which team. Let's see.
Jack, to me,
Islington, Pierce, torn between Islington and Pierce. Pierce, all the men, Pierce, Islington. A lot of Pierce and Islingtons. Does anyone else who didn't vote or say in the comments earlier are you on any particular? Yeah, is anyone Team Jack? I'm very curious.
Somebody was, I can't remember.
Oh, Laura says she was Team
Laura.
Jack.
Team Jack.
But also Hawks.
Yes.
Yeah, I feel like a little bit like Jack and Hawks are almost opposite sides of the same coin.
Yes.
Like Hawks could be Jack. He could be
very
Jack,
I agree. He
right?
could go, yes.
He could have gone that route if things in his life had gone a different way. And I feel the same about Jack. Like Jack's could be Hawks. Like they're both
you
very
see
clever.
how he was with his mother and like
right?
Brought her into that was you could see the goodness in there.
Kraft says Jack is a big no for me. Emma needs someone of strong moral character to offset her bohemian bent.
Yeah, he is.
Yeah.
He's too dangerous. Isn't really quite the right word, but he's
definitely a bad boy.
Sketchy. Yeah,
sketchy is a good word for him. Yes, he's very sketchy.
Yeah. So then we get into February, and she starts her job and meets Argus, young Argus, also known as Tat.
Yes. Okay, so maybe this is a good spot. Why don't we maybe break for a reading sprint here, and then we will come back and we will delve into the job. And then we will segue into, we need to talk about the fountain, what happens at the fountain, and then we need to talk about the ending, because clearly we have to talk about the ending.
Yes. So Beth, you need to read fast.
Yes.
To get to the end.
Beth hasn't finished. So if anyone hasn't finished, read fast during our reading sprint, and then
because
we are going to talk about the ending, and it will be a bit of a spoiler. Yeah.
I
agree that the bits with Jack add so much. Like, he's such a great character, and he really does add so much sort of humor and fun, and this sort of lighthearted darkness to him. Like, he's got this sort of playfulness to him, but he's also kind of dark. So I like that too. And I agree with Elizabeth that he is definitely attractive in that respect, but not for Emma. He's not right for her. So Beth says she's on it. She's on it.
She's on it. She's going to read fast.
All right. So it is 48 after right now. Let us read until... Oh my goodness, Huey has been like in and out like 5.
I know, I've seen that.
I know, keep seeing me reach back.
It's Rum Tum Tugger. Have you?
He is the Rum Tum Tugger for sure. I went in, I went out, I went in, I went out.
We have a cat that's the Rum Tum Tugger. It's like, make up your mind.
Right, I know. One or the other. Okay, let us read until quarter after. Let me put up the ticker, and then I will we'll see if today's ASMR room will have ads or not. I don't know how to find these things with no ads. I don't know. I try. I think I found one that has no ads, but all right, everyone. So we'll come back at quarter after. Okay, we are back. Oh, let me turn off the banner. Okay. All right, so we were going to get into Emma's job with Mrs. Whitaker and Argus, aka Tad.
Yes. I thought that was sweet that she did that for him. That she really kind of recognized, you know, what the root of the problem was. I mean,
yep.
Basically.
Right? Yeah. So. No, that was, I mean, you know, what a spoiled kid, you know, misbehaving and just being a brat. And she didn't, I mean, you know, he did get to her, but she tried not to let him get to her too much. And she still tried to do she did do a nice thing for him. And then in the end, he did something for her. So,
yes. It started out harmless with the, you know, tossing things at each other. But then, I mean, I got so tickled with the whole ink situation and the taxidermic dog Valentine. I mean, you do want to be like, how does she come up with these situations? Mrs. Whitaker comes back and she's like, my Valentine. Oh my goodness. I got so tickled with that part. It's like weirdly grotesque, but also funny. Yeah.
Right. Yes. Yeah.
Yeah, I agree with that.
It would be nice if Tad came back and we got to see him changed at some point, even just like a small little cameo moment, right? Like she bumps into him somewhere and you know, he's gotten himself together and whatever, gone back to Eton or wherever it was he got kicked out of, and you know, get on with his life. But
yes,
yeah, that whole just all of the different. It was like everything that could go wrong at a new job went wrong for Emma in this job. I mean, there's a serious moment at the end too, obviously, with the uncle, but you know, up until that point, just the ink, the red ink. Red ink. Oh my goodness.
Yeah. The uncle was terrible. I mean, we knew that it was going to not go in a good way with him.
Of course. From the moment he walked in the room, you knew he was going to come on to her, you know, and be just a horrible, repulsive person. You know, so it was not surprising, but then the way she turned that whole scenario with the urn full of the dead dog's ashes.
Yes.
Oh, the poker. Oh gosh. Oh, just I would have had to take just at least 3 baths. I think that's what Emma took. I might have taken more. I don't know.
Yeah, I think it was 3.
Yeah,
also.
But I think Argus got his comeuppance there, and then Tad came. You know, Tad stood up and did the right thing for Emma. I think he was a little bit, and you know, at the end, he's sort of a little enamored of Emma. Emma's like, no, don't.
Yeah, she was like,
don't say it.
I'm covered in ashes of a dead dog.
Many dead dogs.
Hear any confessions of love right now.
Exactly.
However she worded it.
Yes, Elizabeth says horrifyingly hilarious.
Yes.
Absolutely. The whole thing.
It's funny, but it is also like horrifying.
Right? But also like, you know, I don't know, if you keep your dead dogs.
Yeah, there's obviously issues there.
Right?
Ugh. Yeah.
I mean, it's just, you know, like what job is Emma cut out for? other than being a writer, I mean, she really should be a writer is what she should do. I mean, but.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah,
So
I don't know what. Yeah. And then she spent a carriage ride telling Mrs. Penury.
That
and
was hilarious too.
And she thought it was funny until Emma got to the part at the end where she was like really angry.
Yeah. As I think anybody would be, right? I mean, it was
but still did not talk. You know what I mean? Like, we knew she was angry. Like, I was thinking about, like, I could never take a vow of silence. It would not work for me. No. But I feel like that would be the time when you would break your vow of silence. You know what I mean?
Right. Being told the story about
yes, to the end where the guy makes a move, and it's really wildly inappropriate,
right?
I feel like that's when she would.
Yeah. Jenny, I like that too. That's very true, that Tad put his uncle in the corner by saying how he would pay for the urn, right? Like, yeah, absolutely. Yeah. Oh yeah, Uncle Argus said he'd pay for the urn. Yeah. So
it's like in the Megan Follows Anne of Green Gables when the boys are caught smoking in the bathroom that's outside the schoolhouse, and Anne sees the dad. She's like, "Oh, he volunteered to paint it," and the boy has to do it because he doesn't want to. Yeah, it's
exactly.
Good move there.
Exactly. Yeah.
So I know people talked about quotes. I did want to read for February 22nd, since we're basically there.
Right.
The quote I wrote down is, "The idea that one could live in a world where a friend would invite you to go read in another's library feels more like a dream than a reality." So it's when Hawks is like, "Come on, let's go over to Islington's."
Right.
They're just like children play acting at being adults, right? Like, they show up and Hawks gets all this great plates of food, and Emma's like, "We're just gonna be in his library. He's not even here."
Right. This is a good this could be something for Emma to do, that she'd be a wonderful teacher, doesn't have the education. However many unmarried or widowed women taught small groups in their home for a tiny, yeah, sure. I mean, governesses weren't educated, and they, taught children and stuff. So yeah, she could absolutely do something like that.
And she connected with Argus really well. I mean,
right? Yes.
So
absolutely. Yeah. And like Elizabeth says, she handled Todd very cleverly. Like, she would be a great teacher for, like sort of that age, like that, those teen, kids that are, people who are younger, a little bit younger than she is, but not young children. I don't know that she has quite the right temperament for like little kids, but like young teenagers. I think she's just the right person with her personality to do that kind of. She would not put up with any of their nonsense.
Yes. Yeah, so she'd see right through it.
She would, 100%. She'd be like, been there, done that, and try again.
Right.
So
you said you wanted to talk about the fountain.
The fountain. Yes. I love the fountain scene. That's one of my favorite scenes. I mean, again, it's that juxtaposition that I think Beth Brower is so good at, where she pitches this very sort of poignant, Emma's gonna, throw this, she's gonna let this coin go into the fountain, not to let Maxwell go or take it, but she's already done that. But, just to say thank you for all of everything you gave to me. Right. And then she ends up taking a bath in the fountain, freezing cold fountain. She's, in there, and she falls, head over heels forward, on her face, and gets soaking wet. And I just think, and then at the very, she's like, I didn't even get to throw my second coin in, because, she went,
and it's quite romantic with Hawks too, because she goes in to get a cider, and he's like, kind of putting, the wool scarf, I think, around her, and like, they're just sitting in companionable silence. They have, I don't know. I just thought that moment was kind of romantic. And then, of course, Hawks, ever the man of mystery, just gets up and starts taking off his garments, and she's like, what's going on? Like totally lost.
I know. It's just like, what are you doing? You're taking all this. What is happening? And then you learn yet another bizarre thing about St. Crispian's. I mean, in this volume, we kind of get to learn a few different things. Like we learn, that like they make Pierce buy he buys the bench for outside,
and then the door gets.
And then the door gets nailed shut because they don't like that he didn't come to the ribbon cutting. So they're mad. And so
right.
I'm like, it is the most eccentric neighborhood filled with just rules that don't apparently have a lot of rhyme or reason to them.
Right.
Just at the whims of whomever thinks that something should happen. And so,
yes.
But yeah, and so here's the fountain where, on Valentine's Day, after all the coins are thrown in for, 1 hour, whoever gets their first dibs
gets to collect
scoop up as much money as they can for their charity of choice.
Right. And she decides that she wants to thwart, I can't remember the name of the man that she wants to thwart. So she's going to get in and help Hawks.
Well, because he's going to send his poor little maid in to go.
Yes, that's right.
She doesn't want her to get, die of exposure. Right. So she's going to go get the coin so that the maid doesn't have to go in. And, Hawks is like, we got to get the stuff in the center because then maybe she could just, put her hands in from the outside. She wouldn't have to actually get in the fountain to get what's left. And then, Emma falls on her face. And I think that puts the end of that.
And drinks the fountain water. It's like choking.
Right. Yes, all these different traditions that are built into the St. Crispian's neighborhood. I'm very curious, like, are we going to get to see kind of, this is sort of like what we were talking about with the 12th night ball. Are we going to get to see iterations of these as the years pass and different aspects of them or more details or I don't know, it's like so curious.
Right.
Oh, yes. Yes. I marked this. I marked exactly that quote.
Yes. Me too.
Yeah, it says when he puts her in the carriage, she's trying to get his attention to get in with her. And then it says, then something strange. There was a wave of emotion on his face, of anger or futility or regret, but it was not at me. It was for me. I have no idea what it meant. Dun, dun, dun.
Right.
Any guesses? Anyone have any suppositions of that? Yeah. Yeah, the fountain incident is just the best. Seems a crazy month for scooping coins. It would not be nearly as hilarious if they weren't doing it in February. If they were doing it in July.
Yeah.
But yes, it does seem silly that they do it on Valentine's Day. Couldn't they have done
it's the ice what is it? Polar plunge?
Like the polar bear plunge. Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
Yes, well, the Hawks look, I feel like we might get a little bit more information about that in the next few, not directly, but indirectly, we get some information that might help us understand what that look meant.
What team are you on? Did you say what team you were? Yes.
Oh, I've been on Team Pierce from the beginning.
Team Pierce.
Yeah, I've always been on Team. Okay, so here's my logic. And again, I mean, Pierce definitely has his dark side, and he's not by any means a perfect man, but who is really? The thing. I can't say wholly why now because there are some things that are going to happen that are maybe going to change people's thoughts on some things going forward. But to me, it was like Islington was not of her same social class, so that was always going to be an impediment. Hawks just feels more like a brotherly figure to me, like he's a confidant, and she needs that even when she gets married. And Hawks could still be that person for her because he's a clergyman. So because he's a vicar, like they don't have to stop their relationship. But if she marries him, I mean, I guess technically they could all still be friends, right? But I don't know. I don't get the vibe between Hawks and Emma that it's like this that like connection thing. I just feel like they're just like such good, like they're the same kind of soul, but they're not like, it's not in a romantic way. So, but with Pierce, I just feel this like there's so much tension between the two. There's clearly this attraction between the two of them. They are
she notices how he looks in his shirt.
Yep.
In this book.
Right.
I think we start to kind of see that, her kind of awakening and realizing like how he fits in his clothes and
Yep. So yeah, anyway, so I'm still Team Pierce. I'm still Team Pierce. Oh yeah, Meg says Pierce equals electricity. Yes. And yeah, Lori says Pierce is on the same plane as Emma. And I would agree. Like their banter, their connection to each other, the way that they talk to one another, even though Pierce still keeps some things very close to the vest with himself, they give more to each other than any of the other men give to Emma, or she gives to them.
They do their little letters. They write letters to each other.
Right. I mean, obviously they're in closer proximity.
They have a fur baby that they share together.
Yes.
Oh, somebody put a comment earlier that talked about Tybalt.
Oh, about the letter
from the owners.
Yes.
Yes.
I know.
Elizabeth, it's true.
It is.
Yes, it's true. The full meltdown. I mean, he did share again about his childhood, which is just like really just heartbreaking, right? It's just heartbreaking.
Absolutely.
That's hard.
And we don't know exactly why he left for America. I mean, he doesn't share that piece of it. And clearly something was going on with his family or he wouldn't have left. But I mean, I don't think any of the men, none of them are without their dark sides. I mean, I think they all have something that's maybe not quite the right fit for Emma. Like, but I mean, that's sort of just relationships, right? It's not always going to be exactly this, sometimes it's going to be a little bit like this, but it works close enough and you guys figure out the rest of it, and I feel like with Emma and Pierce that maybe she could help him absolve some of that darkness within him and he could help raise her maturity, because she's very young still and he's, significantly older than she is. But, he's what, 10, 12? So he's 30 something, I think. Or
I don't know. Apparently,
he's 30. We talked about this before. I always forget exactly how old he is. I think he's 30.
Elizabeth says there's a spreadsheet that has everyone's age.
Oh, there is.
That's what she said earlier.
Oh, I'm going to have to look that up.
Right, Elizabeth? You said there's a spreadsheet. How far back do I have to go? She said, Sophronia's 37. And somebody was like, oh, thanks for that. And she's like, there's a spreadsheet. Help us out, Elizabeth. Maybe I'm just, the Google Doc is age info about the characters compiled by another Emma fan.
Oh, I'll have to look for that.
Yeah, Elizabeth, where is the Google Doc? This elusive Google Doc.
Yes. Share with us, Elizabeth, in the comments.
Yes.
And in the meantime, Kraft this part of that quote about Pierce that Emma says, while the crash of weather is intoxicating, I can't help but wonder if anyone has ever drowned. And I mean, that's true. That's a good point. But I like what Elizabeth also said here, which is, what kind of life could they build together? I saw someone mention that Pierce is the one who needs a home, and I find that compelling.
Yeah, I mean, they're already living together.
Basically.
I mean, yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
Yeah. So, Elizabeth will share the link again for the Google Docs.
She's a wealth of knowledge.
The more she thinks about it, she might be Team Roland. Roland ultimately is probably the most grounded and least traumatized male that is in Emma's acquaintance. And they do have this history from their childhood of antagonizing one another, and they have come to, have formed a friendship now that they've grown out of that. I like Roland. I do like him a lot. I don't think would be a bad choice for Emma per se. Like they could possibly work out. I don't know. I think maybe both of them need to mature a little bit more, though. That's the only thing I have against Roland, is that they both seem very young.
Yeah, he seems like a player. He's just always not really serious about anyone.
Right.
But no, I think Laura's right. It's like, for him to be a series contender, he would need more time.
Yes, we need to get to see him more. Yeah, absolutely. He does feel just like a secondary, which is fine. I mean, I love it when Roland shows up. It's always a good time.
They are on a different level, I think. In the
Oh, Roland. Is Roland of an upper?
I think so.
His social status is higher than hers.
I think he's equal with her cousin.
Right? Yeah.
Because I've always thought, why don't he and the cousin connect up?
Yeah. I don't know that he has enough money. I mean, he has money, but I don't know if he has enough.
Who the heck wants to marry into Eugenia and be Eugenia's son-in-law? I mean, even Islington doesn't measure up.
Oh, Beth said when I was in Brooklyn.
Yeah. I had the same.
I thought that too, actually.
She kept seeing like a shadow of him, like around a corner.
And it seemed like he was lost. Like, they didn't, because they hadn't found his body. And so he, so yes, I agree. Like in the early book, I was like, oh, well, maybe he's going to come back. Like, that would be amazing, and it's like, what a twist. But no, I know. So sad.
Yeah. And we're continually reminded, right? So like we had the funeral and then with the coin, like there's always this sort of like marker of like ending, just reminding that like that's ended.
Meg has an interesting thought.
Small
hope that we find out Maxwell's body was mistakenly identified and maybe he was taken prisoner instead. Dun, dun, dun. Well, that would throw a wrench in things, wouldn't it?
Yeah. I feel like the people who are team, like, I feel like to be this far along, to get to be in book 9 or 10, which is almost halfway, I would probably be annoyed with that. I'd be like, oh my gosh, I've got my hopes up here and this and this, and then.
But you know what I wonder? Okay, so here's my thought on that. Because even if, so this makes me think of, there's a book by Taylor Jenkins Reid that she wrote earlier in her career, but she sort of has changed how she writes, and she used to write much more kind of straight, kind of like rom-com type books. Anyway, she wrote a book about a woman whose husband he's in a small plane crash, and they all assume he's dead, and blah blah blah. And then she she's, after a couple of years, she starts to move on, and this other man comes into her life, and they're going to maybe get married, and then the husband turns out not to be dead. And anyway, so my thought is, like, if that were to happen with Maxwell, the thing that happens in those scenarios is, like, just because you loved someone at one point of your life.
Oh, yeah.
Like, she even alludes to the fact that, like, she and Maxwell were so young. Their love was so new and not fully formed that, like, even if he came back, would that be enough? Like, would they still want to be together? If she had found a relationship with one of these other men, would she leave them to go back to, I don't know, but that could make things very interesting.
Yes. It's true.
Let's see.
They're talking about the necklace. He's found with the necklace, but then maybe he shared gave the necklace to a buddy.
All right. Should we talk about the ending with Emma and Pierce? And the kiss. Dun, dun, dun.
Dun, dun, dun. So for the people who are Team Pierce, this is very exciting.
Very exciting.
You're like, finally. Yes. Finally. Yeah, great. Yes.
Yes,
it was very romantic. She she went back, right, for more. At her own.
He tried to pull away. She's like, no, we're not done yet.
Right. Quite romantic.
Yes. But I like how it, it does sort of spin the both of them off into like, oh no, what have we just done? Right? Because this is gonna make things much more complicated, especially with the friendship of the four of them.
Yes.
Right?
Yeah. So Elizabeth, I knew something happened because I've heard people say like, oh, book 6, like I knew something would happen. And then with her noticing how he looked in his shirt, that's like sticking out to me. I don't know if she went into more detail, but like I was starting to see like, okay, she's looking at him a little bit differently now than she had been.
But I think she's always sort of looked at him a little bit like, you know, like, I think there's always been this like underlying attraction to them. Like there's banter between her and Islington and her and Hawks, and they've got their own little connections to each other. But I don't know, with Pierce, it just has always felt to me there's just, I need to like, if I reread the books again, I need to like make note of every instance where I see something different in the way she and Pierce interact than the way she interacts with the other men. But
yeah, Meg says, I can't believe it ended so abruptly. I agree. So
right,
I have the benefit of like, there's at least these 8 that are out, so I can just dive right into it.
Yes. Jenny, I yelled yes if my hubby was laughing and asked what happened. Yes, see, Team Pierce.
Yeah, so
Elizabeth said there was a lot of build up to it, slowly and surely. Like I really feel like she was just, constantly throwing them together in ways she wasn't throwing Emma together with the other men. I don't know.
So something that they're saying is that this is going to irrevocably alter the relationship between the 4 of them. That like this time of innocent friendship among the 4, because think like the next time they're all in the room together, it's just going to be, do you know what I mean? Like, I just think Emma and Pierce could be awkward and Hawks and Islington are going to be able to tell. You're like the cat that swallowed the canary.
I am. I'm like, I can't say anything. There's nothing I can say. You guys are just going to have to start volume 7. I don't know what else to tell you.
Yeah. How will this affect the alchemy?
Yes. Mm-hmm.
Yes.
Yes.
It's true.
Beth, did you make it to the end or did we just spoil it for you?
Yes. Yes,
I feel like there's always been like just that something little extra between Emma and Pierce. Just, I don't know.
Yeah.
Love is in the air. I don't know.
Just really quickly, someone said in the back that they thought there was a connection between Maxwell and the Roman. And I also have wondered that as well. Like how, but Laura, it could just be they're all paranormal. Yeah. Mm-hmm. Yeah, so Laura says it's not possible anymore. But
here's Meg coming back with ways to shut down our no, it couldn't happen. Someone else could have been holding the necklace for him. Could have been. Yeah. We don't know. Stranger things have happened. Right? That happens in, you read war stories. I mean, like historical fiction things, and somebody had on someone else's dog tags or whatever, or was holding a picture of someone else's loved one, and so the wrong person with mistaken identity, and could be. We will have to stay tuned.
Beth didn't make it. Sorry, Beth, but she's Team Pierce. So she doesn't care.
Doesn't care. She does care. It's a good scene, Beth. Wait till you get there.
Yeah,
you're so close. Keep reading.
It's very romantic.
Does anyone else think of Taylor Swift when they hear the alchemy? I don't know. I'm not I like Taylor Swift, but I don't know all of her music enough. So I don't know.
Anyone else? Now I'll have to look. I will look.
Yeah, I know. Does she have a song or album or something called That sounds familiar to me, but I don't know the reference.
Maybe we need to make a playlist for Emma and mine, and we'll add this song to it. I feel the same way. I have no problem. I think she's a great role model. I think she's an athlete on top of an artist. Oh my gosh. But I don't know her music well. I'm old. I'm old.
I know all of her popular stuff that they play on the radio and things like that, but I don't know some of the more, like I don't have all her albums downloaded.
Is the latest album, is that Tortured Poets Society? Is that what it is? Meg will know. She'll tell me.
Yeah. Tell us, Meg.
Tell us. Meg, are you younger than us? Let's see.
Her latest album references the alchemy.
I think it's Tortured Poets Society.
There we go.
Oh, she's also old.
Old but young at heart. I mean, anybody can be a Taylor fan. That's totally absolutely.
I mean, that is
Taylor's
what's great about her. She's really gone from being
for everyone.
Country music to just
a superstar.
Worldwide pop star. Yeah.
Yeah, phenomenon.
Yes. Yes, it's the Tortured Poets
like,
Society or whatever.
Is it that they share a living space? I don't know. See, I just think there's something about Pierce. I don't know what it is. They just have that, there's that thing between people. You can't replicate that. It's just, I don't know, chemistry, magic, whatever it is.
Yes.
I feel like Emma and Pierce have that thing. So I don't know.
It's true. I mean, he was the one who was there for her for the funeral. Now I feel like I need to reread it and look for the connections. When I read it, I see the connections with Hawks. I'm like, oh, he was there. He shared his sweater. So romantic.
See, but to me, it was like he's just being, I do feel like Hawks has within him, like, he wants to take care of people. I think that's why he became a clergyman, was because he cares about people. And I think, that was just, again, him, and he cares especially for Emma. Like, they have a, special connection. But to me, it doesn't feel romantic. It feels just more like,
What if he's Oberon, though? Doesn't that make it a little bit more romantic?
No, because I don't think she's his Titania. Like, I think she's
not. You are just not there. Well,
we'll see. I love Hawks. I love Hawks. I just don't love him as a romantic partner for Emma. I think he keeps stuff too much closed off.
Yeah, like, he's very mysterious. He's got a black eye. Yeah.
Like,
you're like, what are you doing? At night.
He's like, they're like, Hawks, blah, 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 blah. And he's like, like, who does that?
Yes.
He just like gets up and leaves. Yes. God doesn't say anything, just leaves.
Maybe he's like neurodiverse.
And that's totally fine. I don't think that's it, but I mean, it's totally fine if he is, but I don't think so. I think he's just, again, it's that whole, like, I do think he has a bit of a dark side. I think he just keeps it way closed. He just keeps it. And so he says nothing. He's almost a bit like Mrs. Penury, where he doesn't need to say a lot. Oh, actually, there's a really good quote about Hawks.
And also
made me think of you. Did you mark the quote about how words love Hawks? Like, that was one of my favorite.
Yeah.
This is on February 3rd. She says, "Oh, how words love Hawks. They wrap around the unexpected inflections of his voice, eager, offering their best cadence and lilt and soul. They know him well and he them, almost as if words are the one thing in his life he has never had to push away. He speaks words the way they pound in my chest, and it feels like a miracle finding such a dear part of oneself walking around in someone else's body."
Yes. Beautiful.
Right?
Yes.
And I think that's true. But he's very careful with his words. He doesn't ever
say something.
He doesn't talk just to talk. If he's going to say something, it's going to mean something.
There's intentionality.
100% behind every single thing that he says.
So we have a question that I think is great.
Yes.
Here's a question. Why are we so hung up on E getting romantically involved? Why couldn't she be a Sophronia? happy in her own skin. Right. I mean, she could end up being a spinster. We could start recommending Emma M. Line for Spinster
Yes.
September. But
I
no,
would love
it's
that,
true.
actually.
And I actually found myself, so up until the kiss with a capital T and a capital K. And other than like maybe seeing like her admiring Pierce in the shirt, you really don't get the feeling that she's like evaluating the men as romantic interests. I mean, right. I felt myself when I was reading it thinking like she's really going into this as like, and I think having Maxwell, you know, and her healing from that and everything else going on, that she just wasn't really thinking about it. But I did find myself thinking like, I'm going into it like, oh, who could it be? You know what I mean? Like, who's the... But she didn't seem to be on the same page with me about like being interested in that way.
Right. So, well, I think, you know, some of it's that, like, I mean, Emma's gone through some very hard things in her life when we first meet her. You know, she's lost her parents, she's lost Maxwell, she's just spent the past couple of years or whatever being companion to a horrible person. She's finally gonna get to be on her own. And I think, you know, she needed to get settled. She needed to find her place in this new world that she was now living in. So of course she's not thinking about romance. That would just make things so much more complicated for her. She doesn't have time for that. What she needs is, and I think, like to Elizabeth's point, like, she needs a family. She needs people to care about and care about her. And so I think that's why we feel invested in, you know, is she going to get married or not? If she doesn't, like, I would love it if Emma somehow figured out either a job or a way to earn some money, or somehow she gets some random windfall, you know, or whatever it might be. And she just makes her way on her own and she keeps these friendship with these men without marrying any of them. I would be totally fine with that.
Travels to
very
Greece.
Fun to like contemplate who she could possibly end up with.
Yes. I think too, Elizabeth, which is a really great point, is that Emma has such a capacity for emotional intimacy. And so I think that's part of it too. I think that's that, to me, that's like more compelling of an argument than the found family one. Cause I think, I mean, she makes a family out of you know, Agnes is family, you know what I mean? Like but I do think she does seem to have such a capacity for being emotionally intimate that it's like, you want her to have that connection with someone because it's, you know, she would be good at it, and I don't know.
Yes. Like, so. And clearly she had a lovely home life with her parents. And I think, you know, having had that, I think she would love to have that again. And maybe it'll come to her in a different way. Maybe it won't come to her in the form of marriage. Maybe it'll come to her some other way. And it sort of already is, right? I mean, she is sort of gathering these people around her to give her that feeling of family. Like, you know, in the last volume where we get to see like how lovely they make Christmas for her. Like that was like,
and the birthday gift, like so thoughtful.
Just so thoughtful. People who really care about her. And I think it's been so long since she's had that.
Hawks is the one who found her necklace, by the way. Let's give Hawks some points.
Right? Hawks did. Hawks did. Oh, wait. I want to go back to this because somebody said,
I'm having a hot flash. I'm sorry.
Well, let's see. Glenda thinks that Hawks is secretly in love with Emma. Could be.
That's that whole look at the fountain.
But Ginny says Irish is, or that Hawks is Irish. He's an Irish exit expert. Like he's
not neurodiverse. He's Irish.
He is, right?
He can just leave.
Exactly.
And I'm gonna tell that to my husband. I have Irish blood. It's not a lot, but I do.
I do have Irish blood too. I do have.
And I'm like, when it's time to go somewhere, my husband, it's like, it just is lingering, and I'm like, we need to just leave. We're just gonna leave. Bye. But he is not Irish. And I hot over Hawks. Maybe I got all excited about it.
I know, right?
About it. I just get hot flashes. It's just.
I have my fan pointed at me right now. I should get out my little hand.
I mean, I'll go. You know, I have my sweater on. And then it's just, it's the time of life that I'm in.
It is the time of life. I hear you. I hear you.
And my glasses steam up. It's just, but maybe it's Hawks. I don't know.
Yeah. A couple people did harken back to the dream she had about where she imagined footsteps coming down the stairs, right? So both Kraft and Meg said, that she heard, in her dream. So, so I don't think we're completely off base. I mean, I think it's sort of in human nature to look for, romantic entanglements in relationships, so.
Yes.
Oh, let's see. This is a good point. Laura, I'm wondering how Beth Brower will interest us about Emma and her romantic life through these so many planned books. Will marriage make a very different kind of story? That's a good point. Yeah, I mean, like 24 books is a lot of books to like string out a love square or whatever it is that we've got going on, a love hexagon. I don't even know what it is now.
Yeah. Well, if you add in Roland and Jack, we're really got a
I know. We're gonna have an octagon before long. Right. I mean it. I mean, I think it could still be even if Emma gets married, I think it could still be interesting. But I don't know. I guess.
Yeah, I mean, we're interested with Archibald coming across a tambourine.
I know.
I feel like at this point, we're just along for the ride, and so far it's just
okay. But first of all, like at some point, we've got to get let into the library that Archibald is holding hostage. Like we've got to get in there. Like that has to happen before the end of these books. I need Emma to get into those books. That's what I need. I think it's driving me crazy. I love how he's so hung up on that she destroyed that it's her fault that his mourning robes have been destroyed or been stolen. He can't possibly survive, and she's not letting him buy anymore.
Yes.
Even though they're the entire reason that her money is gone is because he spent it on his mourning robes.
Right.
But I'm just like, it just kills me.
Yeah. Elizabeth says,
I'm still trying to does anybody understand exactly what these mourning robes look like? Is it like a smoking jacket? Because I tried to look it up and all I got are like bathrobe type things. I was like, what are mourning robes like in the 1880s in England? Nothing. Google's got nothing for me. So if anybody has mourning robe information, please share, because it's driving me. I don't understand. I can't figure out what these things look like.
Elizabeth, is it part of the Google Doc?
Right.
Yeah, I was going to say, when you started talking about it, I was going to say, and I don't even know really what a mourning robe is. I don't.
I don't either. But it's one of those things that every time it comes up, then I'm like, what does this look like? Because I feel like he wears it underneath jacket.
Like
he sometimes wears more than one at one time. And I'm like, I can't understand what this thing looks like.
Yeah, I don't know. I don't know enough about fashion.
Right?
Yeah. Elizabeth says there's so many threads. There really is. Like, it's like, I think about the Roman, like that little tiny thread. I hope she sees the Roman at some point.
Mm-hmm.
Or like, how, you know what I mean?
Right.
I don't know.
Yeah. I mean, the Roman, the things that go missing in St. Crispian's and show up in other people's houses, it's like.
Yeah, there's a lot of threads. It's true.
Right. It's like,
Laura said, does anyone else look at our library list? I look at the friends list and the library list.
I don't look at the library list before I start, because I like to be surprised about what books she's adding to her library in each volume. So I wait until the end. Then I read through the whole, and then it gets me excited to see, like, this time it's like, I mean, it's going to be almost 2 pages long. I mean, look at that. It started out, it was just like, there.
Right.
So I get happy for Emma every time I get to the end and see how long her list is getting. So, and it's just funny all the time. I look at the titles every time. I read Beth Brower's little acknowledgments thing at the end every time. It cracks me up every time I read it. It's always the same. I'm like, it makes me laugh every time.
Yeah.
But so I save it till the end. Oh, Jacqueline says she pictures something elaborate, silk trimmed brocade. Yeah, that's kind of like a smoking jacket. It's sort of how I picture it. So like,
yeah,
either it's like nipped in at the waist or tie, like belted somehow, but short. So maybe only like hip length is kind of what I'm picturing. But yeah, with like a velvet lapel and like brocade. Right. I don't know, something. Yeah, exactly. Silk. And I mean, he probably just wears multiples of them because he's Archibald and he's a weirdo, but
right.
Elizabeth says she feels like this has come up in Q&As with Beth, but she can't remember. I'm like, grr. All right. Yeah. Meg says being able to see the happily ever after if the series goes on to show a marriage could be really neat. That could be right, because most series, like, they get together, the end. Wouldn't it be kind of refreshing to see, like, after the happily ever after, like, what happens next?
Right.
Like, you know. Let's see. Kraft says, I just Googled what does a gentleman's morning robe in England look like in the 1800s. Worked for me. Oh, there was lots of info. Because all I got were things that looked like bathrobe, like what we think of as a bathrobe, like a dressing gown kind of thing, which, I mean, maybe that's what it's like. And but he wears them out. Like, he wears them as part of his clothing, not as like a dressing gown. So I was picturing something not so long, but like even Jacqueline said she pictured it longer, like between knee and ankle. But see, I pictured it shorter.
I pictured it shorter too.
Yeah, because I was like, how is he? I mean, I don't know. Walking around like Scrooge the morning after with his dressing gown all.
Yes, exactly. Like what Scrooge wears. That's a good.
Oh gosh, have I thought about getting the courage? I don't even know. I mean, I could. I don't even think she's aware of me or this or any of it. I could ask. I mean, I don't even know. She probably has a publicist or something I'd have to reach out to, but I certainly could try. That would be exciting, wouldn't it?
It would be very exciting. We would, yeah. I would come with like a team.
I know. Everybody will have to bring our team signs.
Get t-shirts,
right? I know I need to get. Have you seen that she has a tote bag now? An M Lion tote bag. It's really cute. I know. Yes. Like, I'm gonna have to get that. So
yeah, and the audiobooks I think is very exciting. It just will reach more.
Yes, people. If anybody has not heard yet, Beth Brower announced that the audiobooks of all the current volumes are being coming out in August. And it hasn't been announced yet who the narrator is going to be, but they are coming, and they're coming fairly soon. So if anybody is an audiobook listener, keep your eye out for those. And then I assume they'll be making audiobooks of the future volumes as they come out as well. So, yes. But yeah, so that's very exciting. But what we really need is volume 9. Getting so close. Right.
Did volume 8 end on a cliffhanger as bad as this one?
No, I don't know.
Good.
I don't think so. Elizabeth, do you remember? Because I don't. Volume 8 to me had a slightly different like feel to it. A little bit. It's a little bit like
meandering.
Yeah, a little bit more meandering of a storyline.
Lots of.
I don't remember there being like a particularly strong cliffhanger at the end of that one. So,
well,
I mean, I'm always like finishing it and then like, where's the next volume? I'm ready to go. But
interesting. She said she agrees on the different feel.
Yeah. It's definitely got a more and it's longer. It's longer than the other books. So, but I mean, still good, still great. But there's still lots. I mean, of everything we've talked about today, none of it's resolved at the end of volume 8. 0. So all the questions that we have right now, we will still have at the end of volume 8. We will get more information towards understanding and knowing about those things, but it's not resolved.
Yeah.
That's all I will say. So.
Yeah, I mean, that's the nature of a serialized story. As I said, it's gotta keep you, interested and curious to keep going.
Look, Jacqueline said there's a cool Emma tote on Etsy that lists Lion, Pierce, Islington, Hawks printed on it. Huh. What they need to do is do totes with team whichever.
Yeah.
Or like with a checkbox where you can check off your team.
Yeah. Yeah, it's true.
Elizabeth says she can't wait to discuss the next 2 volumes. I know! The next volume in particular, very excited to talk about. I mean, I'm excited about all of them. I mean, I'm going to be sad about volume 8 because then we're going to be done.
I know.
For till we don't know when. And that's going to make me sad. But for everybody who's here, I am planning, whether I can get Beth Brower to come or not remains to be seen. But I am going to have some special guests on, more than one, for our final wrap up. I'm still working on all the details of that, but we're going to have like a little sort of, volume 8 final current volume live stream party. So I hope you can all make it in August to that. So that should be fun, but going to make it a little more fun and festive. And I don't know that I'll do any reading sprints for the final volume because I kind of want to wrap up the whole series. And since I'm going to have multiple people on, we'll probably just end up talking the whole time. So, and I might start it. I don't know. I might start a little bit earlier as well, so we can go a little bit longer if we need to. But all to be determined, and I will send that out in plenty of time. If we start earlier, it won't be much earlier, maybe like a half an hour, but just to give a little more time. So I know people on the East Coast, it's getting on, what is it, 9 o'clock now? So, to try and get us done without it getting too late. And so that I can eat dinner at some point.
Yeah, right.
It's always in my dinner hour.
Elizabeth said, when volume 9 comes out, can we do a live for it?
Absolutely. Absolutely. I will just, like, every time each volume comes out, like the next month, we'll have a live. We'll just talk about it.
Next week. Because when it comes out, we're going to be like,
I know. Exactly. Be like, everybody binge read, put aside everything else you're reading, and then we're going to live stream.
Yeah. It would be nice to know when it's being released.
Yes.
In general.
If we find out before August, I will for sure announce that, and I will for sure schedule a live for that for whenever we find out it's being released. So, if it's coming out in November or something, then we will plan to do a live stream after it's released. So give people, enough time to have read it, and then we'll get together, because I've enjoyed this so much and I don't want to stop. So Beth needs to, like I said, keep writing.
Keep writing.
Yes. So yes. Well, thank you everybody so much for coming. I'm so sorry about that. I clicked the wrong live link. I did change the name up at the top.
Yeah, I see that.
So I did that during the reading sprints. It allowed me to do that. So at least it has the right name now, and I'll have to create a new link for the one that I accidentally used. But I'm glad you all made your way over here, and thank you all. Thank you, Rebecca, so much for coming back.
Thank you. I know. It's so fun.
So much fun. Well, everybody have a lovely rest of your night, evening, whatever time it is where you are, and a lovely reading weekend. I hope you have nice weather and something good to read in your hands this weekend.
Yes.
All right.
Okay.
Sign off for now, and we'll see y'all later. Bye.
Bye.